Dear me. Every time you lot get industrious, it's us country folk who suffer. Well, finally, it seems someone started listening to me and done something about it. My name's Hector, by the way. And before you say stork, I'm a heron. Anyway, if I was a stork, I'd be called Stanley or Sydney or something like that, wouldn't I? Oi, you! Up it! This is my show. So, how did this clean-up come about? What you have to realise is that your dirty habits have been the bane of us river folk for centuries. We don't really mind what you make or dig up. Coal, chemicals, paint, dyes, soap. Good heavens, you'd go back to smelling awful again without that stuff. No, our gripe is this. In the bad old days, we were always on the receiving end of your horrible leftovers. Gallons of waste, tipped, poured and pumped into rivers all over the place. Nearly wiped out my family tree, not to mention almost everyone else's. Take the old coal mines round here, for instance. They're constantly filling with water, but by the time it gets down there, it's not nice, clean water. It's full of all sorts of natural chemicals that seep out of the rock. Years ago, they'd simply pumped this stuff straight out into the river. Believe me, a swig of that, and you're a dead duck. Well, not anymore, I'm pleased to report. Things are looking up. Come and see for yourself. Fasten your seatbelts, mind. Hey, champion. This is the way to travel. Bet you wish you could fly. Recognise that? That's Cap House Colliery down there. You might have already been below ground and met my little canary cousins. Anyway, how do you think they know how much water needs pumping out of these old mines? The answer is they've drilled some boreholes around the pits to measure the water levels. They use all sorts of modern technology to keep a careful eye on the levels and the chemicals in the water, and from this they then decide when to start pumping. But where do you pump it to? Well, not straight into the river. That's the point. Hey, it's getting a bit high for me, this. Let's go down and have a look at where this big clean-up is actually happening. Hold tight! Now, can you see what looks like a series of giant swimming pools, linked together, one after the other? That's what the mining scientists have dreamt up, to clean up the discharge before it gets into the river. These pools are called settling tanks, and where they end, Mother Nature takes over, in these reed beds, where I live. All part of a cunning plan. Hang on, we'll take a closer look. I'll see you down there. Now, this is more like it. The sort of place you'd likely find a few tasty newts. Or frogs. Anyway, let me tell you how it all works. Prepare to be impressed. Every week, over 20,000 cubic metres of water are pumped from the mine here. When it reaches the surface, they add a cleaning agent, lime, and then they leave the rest to gravity. Yes, thank you. As the water makes its way downhill from one tank to the next, all the minerals and muck it's carrying slowly settles to the bottom. Get it? And that goes on and on and... all the way to the bottom of the hill. It takes days. Not that I'm complaining. Just look at what's left behind. So that's nearly the end of the big clean-up. And according to a watchdog called the Environment Agency, the water's now acceptable to discharge into my river. Acceptable? What's wrong with drinkable? Well, someone must have heard me, because the next thing I know, they're planting all these reed beds to make it even better. Why reed beds, you might ask? Well, because these skinny green blighters love this mine water to bits. Literally. It seems it's apparently the bacteria in the reeds that releases oxygen into the water, which changes the natural chemicals in the water into a form that the reeds can then get hold of and not let go. A bit like blotting paper. And it's so successful I've heard the plan is to stop using lime and let the tanks and the reeds take over the whole job. Eureka! Seems you humans are finally beginning to learn. And that's good news for those of us who live round here. Right, that's it, that's the end. And the end of that pesky frog, if I've got anything to do with it. Frog's legs. Just what I fancy. Where are you?